1,000 candles can be lit from one single candle, and the light of the candle will not be shortened, and the light will not be decreased. In my short 22 years of life, I haven't gone one weekend without seeing this image of the candle. At the beginning of every weekend, I start my Shabbat by seeing the candles be lit by my mother. At the conclusion of every Shabbat, I see my father light the Havdalah candle. In memory of my grandparents who have passed away, we light a candle. And we even have a holiday dedicated to the Festival of Light, Hanukkah. Every night we light even more candles. So I'd like to tell you guys the story of why I became fascinated with this idea of this candle. So right now I'm a junior at NYU, and last year I was given the opportunity to be part of the Hillel board. I was very involved in Jewish life on campus, and I was the community service chair, which meant it was up to me to create these fun events that brought lots of students together and that made a difference in the world in some sort of way. So that's exactly what I set out to do. I said, we're gonna make a sandwich making and speed friend making event. And we all came together and we made over 100 sandwiches, we made tons of friendships, and we created an event where every single person was able to give. As we were giving out sandwiches, there was one man who stopped me right before I got back to my dorm. And he said, "Ma'am, it's so nice you're giving out sandwiches, but one thing we could actually really use are a pair of socks." And there I was, stunned. How many of us so often with huge hearts and incredible intentions want to give and assume we know what somebody wants or needs? I learned a huge lesson that night. When it comes to helping, when it comes to giving back to any community, we need to ask what the needs are and how we can help. But I had socks to get. Couldn't think about that lesson for too long. I ran upstairs, I opened my drawer, and lo and behold, I found socks. But they were pink and polka dotted and about this size, and they weren't gonna fit my new friend Diego. So I thought, well, I live in a dorm. We have a few hundred, if not 1,000 students living in this one building. I'll just knock on every door on my floor, meet my neighbors, ask each person for just one pair of socks. In 10 to 15 minutes, I got over 40 pairs of socks. That's when the initiative, Knock Knock Give a Sock, was born. I'd like to show you a small clip of what Knock Knock Give a Sock looks like today and why socks are so important.
We went out into the streets and asked New Yorkers one simple question.
Have you guys ever donated clothing to the homeless?
Oh yes, all the time.
Yes, I've left clothing in these like boxes.
Goodwill or Salvation Army or something like that. Yeah. So
Okay.
I've done that.
You know, shirts, pants, jackets.
Yes, I have.
Salvation Army.
And have you ever donated socks to the homeless?
Socks.
No.
Never thought about it.
Not really.
Socks, no.
People who are homeless wear 4 or 5 pairs of socks a night.
Socks are the most needed yet least donated article of clothing.
They keep your feet warm, protect from frostbite, and prevent infections.
Knock Knock Give a Sock is a college start initiative dedicated to collecting socks for those in need and getting communities to work together to help those who are experiencing homelessness. I'm proud to say that Knock Knock Give a Sock is on over 20 college campuses and has collected over 30,000 pairs to date. Fun fact, I've only donated 1 pair. Diego that night, my friend who told me that socks were the most needed item and the most needed article of clothing, he gave me light. He gave me insight because he gave me the opportunity to fill a need. Growing up, I always heard about this concept of Or Lagoyim, of being a light onto the nations. God says, I will make you a light unto the nations, so my salvation will reach the ends of the earth. Growing up, I never thought much about this quote. But after the birth of Knock Knock Give a Sock, it's a phrase, it's a concept in Judaism I couldn't stop thinking about. What does it mean, Lagoyim? What does it mean, other nations? And more importantly, what does that mean, be a light? How do I be a light? Well, I'd like to start with the question of Goyim. My great uncle, who is a Holocaust survivor, who spoke just a few weeks ago at a Yom HaShoah event, said, Adina, we are Jewish people. We are a religion. We are a culture. We're a civilization. And we're also a nation. Us Jews, we're Goyim. The biblical Hebrew translation of Goyim means nation, which means that it's our job to influence every single person we meet, whether part of the Jewish nation, whether not. We have to be a light to each other. It's very easy to be a flashlight, to turn on that flashlight and shine a light. But we create a much bigger impact if we light other candles. A flashlight can light one room. A candle can light another candle, which can light thousands of rooms. To me, the idea of being this candle, the idea of being this or, is about giving others the opportunity to give. I was recently asked if I could give one piece of advice to a group of young adults who want to change the world, what would it be? My answer was, don't do it alone. It takes groups to make change. And we have to teach one another how to make change together and give others the opportunity to give. I'd like to introduce you all to Molly. This is Molly. Molly goes to WashU. Molly got 25 students to go around and knock on doors with her. Those 25 students collectively knocked on over 400 doors. These 25 students gave over 450 students the opportunity to give. And the result? I'd like to introduce you all to my friend Diego, that man the first night who told me that socks were in need. When we have our students go around knocking on doors, I like to imagine them as candles. And every door that gets knocked on is another candle that gets lit. It's another student that's given another opportunity to give. With that in mind, I'd like to talk about somebody who lit the candle of thousands. A few weeks ago, I got a phone call from a girl named Rachel. Rachel told me she wanted to collect socks in her community. This phone call wasn't very different from many other phone calls I've received. We decided she would put some collection bins in her local synagogue, and she would get her Girl Scouts to go around knocking on doors. We had a nice 10-minute conversation, and I hung up the phone. 2 weeks later, I got a phone call from Rachel's parents. Hi, Adina, this is Rachel's parents. We have about 2,000 pairs of socks in our garage. We were wondering if you could pick them up. Now, just to put that into perspective for you, NYU, which had a month to collect and has collected more socks than any other university, collected 1,500 pairs. Rachel, in 2 weeks, collected over 2,000 pairs. Overwhelmed and overjoyed on the phone, I said, "That's great. Is Rachel there? I'd love to speak to her, figure out how she did it." And then there was a pause on the phone. They told me Rachel was too weak to come to the phone. She wasn't feeling well. I said, "I'm so sorry to hear that. Send her my best. I hope she feels better." And there was another pause on the phone. They told me, "Rachel didn't tell you her situation, did she?" She didn't. Rachel was diagnosed with stage 3 cancer, and it was her last few months. She had stopped going through treatment. And we decided that that Monday, I would go meet her, and I would pick up socks, the 2,000 pairs that were waiting. Unfortunately, that Monday was Rachel's funeral. I never got the chance to meet Rachel. But in her last few weeks of life, she created a code of conduct, values that she chose to live by. And these values were recited at her funeral. I'd like to share some of these values with you so that they can be a light for you guys, and an opportunity for you guys to share Rachel's light. Never stop learning. Always put others before yourself. The only time yourself should come before someone else is if it's listed there alphabetically. If you're wrong, apologize. And my personal favorite, always be sure to meet new people and try new things, because you never know who or what could end up changing your life. Rachel is someone who worked tirelessly and endlessly to be a light in this world. She's an inspiration to all of us. My wish for you is that all of you are able to serve as a light unto nations, an or goyim, whether the other nation is yourself, your neighbor, your family member, a friend, or a stranger on the street. Give others the opportunity to give, and what you'll get in return is a world full of light. Thank you.
Judaism asks us for the integration of the inner and the outer, of emotion and action, of character and conduct, of caring and doing. They also give the lie to one of the most persistent and enduring caricatures of the Jewish tradition, namely, that Judaism only cares about what we do, but not about what we feel or about who we are. But Judaism demands both. Judaism asks us both to care deeply about the widow and the orphan, about the ill and the grieving, about the lonely and abandoned, and to act concretely to help ameliorate their suffering.